Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the anatomy of the strategic trait. If you've ever watched someone just completely, effortlessly untangle a massive, totally chaotic project while everyone else is still, scratching their heads, you are absolutely in the right place. We're going to unpack exactly how the strategic mind works, how it shapes decision-making, and how we can all best leverage it.
Let's kick things off with a perfect metaphor straight from our source material: chess, thinking several moves ahead. It's not just about being smart, right? It's really about anticipation. While everyone else is just reacting to the piece that just moved, the strategic mind, they're already visualizing the endgame. They instinctively evaluate options, anticipate those outcomes, and just naturally plot the course to success.
So, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to look inside the strategic mind, figure out the value they add to teams, explore what we call their balcony and basement behaviors, and finally, contrast this with other traits.
All right, Section 1. Inside the strategic mind, the pathfinder.
Our source actually defines the core role of a strategic individual as the team's pathfinder or strategist. And this isn't just about having a few good ideas. It's about being that person who constantly asks, what if? Just to intuitively sort through all the noise and complexity. Imagine, say, a sudden supply chain delay. They naturally see the patterns and the alternative pathways, instantly identifying the absolute best detour while everyone else is, frankly, still panicking.
And there's this quote from the text that just brilliantly illustrates their process, looking for breadcrumbs to the road ahead. They are literally detectives of possibility. They're evaluating options and obstacles in real time, finding these hidden pathways and routes that others might just completely overlook. Where most of us see a massive roadblock, they immediately see like 3 different ways around it.
Moving right along to Section 2, adding value to teams, clarity and direction.
So what does this actually look like in your Monday morning meeting? Well, they bring this incredible foresight because they pick up on patterns so quickly they can just instantly identify the best paths forward. When roadblocks inevitably pop up, and we all know they do, they already have alternative strategies ready to go. They take absolute total uncertainty and just transform it into actionable contingency plans and flexible problem solving.
But here's the thing. Just having a strength doesn't automatically guarantee it's going to be used effectively. To unlock all that immense value, we really have to ask ourselves, what kind of environment does this type of thinker actually require to succeed?
According to the material, they really need 3 things to function at their absolute peak. First off, they need to see the bigger picture, so whatever you do, don't trap them in a silo. Second, they need the freedom to adjust plans when circumstances change. They absolutely have to have that space to evaluate their alternatives. And third, ownership. If you want their very best work, let them tackle the complex challenges and actually take ownership in setting the direction.
And that brings us to a really great reminder from the source: discover, activate, thrive. You see, traits aren't just these passive labels you get from taking a test. They really have to be actively managed. To truly thrive, a strategic mind has to be channeled correctly. And if it's not, well, that brings us to the potential pitfalls.
Which leads us to Section 3, balcony, basement, and blind spots, the duality. Any strength can actually become a liability if it's left completely unchecked. Our source uses this fantastic metaphor, the balcony for when a trait is really singing, and the basement for when it's taken a bit too far. Up on the balcony, strategic thinkers are brilliant, adaptable navigators who communicate directions super clearly. But drag them down to the basement, they can become overly analytical, highly critical, and just totally leave their team behind.
A major danger identified here is moving way too fast mentally. Have you ever felt like a colleague is already on step 10 while you're still trying to figure out step 2? Yep. That is the strategic mind processing patterns so incredibly fast that they unintentionally leave the rest of the team completely in the dust. And that leads directly into their most common blind spots. Because they see the pathways so instantly, they often completely fail to explain their thought processes to anyone else. This can make them appear really critical of existing systems without actually providing the proper context. Plus, by constantly seeing these endless alternatives, they can actually end up overcomplicating decisions with way too many options. So they end up creating mass confusion when, honestly, they were genuinely just trying to bring clarity.
All right, our final stretch, Section 4, contrasts and key takeaways, defining by difference.
Sometimes the absolute best way to understand a concept is to look at what it isn't, and this contrast is just incredibly clarifying. While the analytical theme focuses on being a natural evaluator of realities, looking strictly at the hard facts, the data, what currently exists, The strategic theme is a natural evaluator of possibilities. They are endlessly motivated by exploring the options of what could be.
Let's also compare it to the focus trait. A person with high focus concentrates entirely on a singular destination, just locking in and ensuring execution toward one fixed point. But the strategic mind, they're always considering alternative routes. They are never locked into just one way of getting there. They're constantly evaluating and reevaluating the best possible pathway as the circumstances shift.
So, to wrap up this explainer, I want you to reflect on this question for a second. Are you making space for alternative pathways in your own decision-making? Whether you naturally possess the strategic trait yourself, or maybe you just work alongside someone who does, consider how embracing that what-if mindset might help you anticipate obstacles and navigate your own complex challenges way more effectively. Keep looking for those breadcrumbs, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.